Presenter Warren McLeod has a passion for providing experiential education for his students, and he leads retreats, mentors students, and promotes social growth outside of the classroom. His discussion today will address the role of faith in transition. Please welcome Warren.
So when I applied to speak at this conference, I submitted this topic sort of as an afterthought. I was pretty sure that it wouldn't be picked, but surprise, here I am. And I'd like to share with you 3 short stories of faith today. Because for me, faith has made such a difference in my expat life. I'm well aware that this is a topic that is divisive and personal and can cause a lot of tension, but I really encourage you, as I'm doing, to kind of set aside the cultural awkwardness that comes with this topic today. And before I go any further, I'd like to point something out. I'm not talking as if faith and religion are the same thing. Faith has to do with an inner peace and a trust in God, and religion has to do more with the actions that we do, usually to appear better in the eyes of other people. So, a few years ago, I was wandering the streets of Istanbul with a few friends. We were exploring the city, enjoying the delicious food, and meeting strangers. And as we were walking in a park by the sea, we came upon a family that asked us if we spoke English. As we started talking, they shared their remarkable story. The father had been an English professor at a university in Syria. A few years before, they had left their country to pursue a life in Turkey. His eyes twinkled as he talked about his daughters and how proud he was of them. And then he told us more about where he had come from. They were refugees from Aleppo. They had fled Syria when things were getting crazy because they were worried that as an English teacher, he would be persecuted. Their story gripped us as they explained how they had come to Turkey with nothing, but had slowly been rebuilding a life there. At this point, the father started talking about his faith. He shared about how before leaving Aleppo, he had always focused on trusting Allah, even in hard times, and now he was in the midst of a test of that faith. And then what he said has stuck in my head. He said, "I trust that Allah has a plan for me and my family, even though our lives have been hard." The reason this was so impactful to me is that I've explained my own faith in the same words. I often use this concept of a ship in a storm. The winds and the waves, the wind is blowing and the waves are crashing, and it's easy for the boat to get lost, adrift. This is a lesson that I've relearned just this year. In my job, I interact with many students, both in and out of the classroom. I was speaking to one class about the importance of attachment using James Cohen's hand-holding study. It's a fascinating study, and I'm just going to give you a quick update about what this is. Happily married wives were divided into 3 test groups. In one, they hold their husband's hands. In another, they hold a strange man's hands. And in the third, they're alone. The wife is then exposed to an electric shock. When she's alone and with a stranger, the threat response center of her brain activates, causing the brain to go into overdrive, trying to regulate her emotions. But when she's holding her husband's hand, the brain is significantly less alarmed. A spouse makes a big difference. And it was at this point in the conversation that my students asked me a question. They said, "Warren, you're single. What does this mean for you?" And right there in class, I had sort of a frozen moment, because I am single, and the science here shows that a spouse brings stability. And my life can feel like a revolving door of friendships, people walking in and out all the time. And that's hard. It's easy as a single man to feel that I'm facing that transience alone. The pain of losing close friends is significant. And not having a spouse does mean that I'm alone on earth. But in my life, I believe that my faith does what the spouse does in James Cohen's hand-holding study. Provides that same strength and stability. And I really do believe that God provides a sense of calm in the storm. I felt it over and over again, that moment when I should have anger or anxiety or be totally upset, and instead I have a sense of peace. Unfortunately, it's not always this way. When I moved to China, I found a beautiful community, 5 dear friends, And then after 2 years, within a month, 4 of them left, and the 5th got engaged, meaning that he was never available. I slid into stayer's remorse, wishing that I had left with my friends. I felt like I was in the dark, and unfortunately, I didn't really exercise my faith during this time. After 6 months, I started making a list of all the things I was thankful for and then thanking God. All of a sudden, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. My circumstances hadn't changed, but my attitude had. Whether it's a light in the darkness or an anchor in the storm, faith helps countless people around the world as they go through the grief of transition. I struggle to put into words the things that I hope for you as you're listening. I hope you see the stability that faith can bring. I hope you see that there can be peace even in the darkness. But mostly I hope you try. Try faith for yourself. It helps. My faith has made me a better person and has given me the ability to find a somber hope, even in the darkest of circumstances. Thank you so much for your time today. Blessings and peace.